Electoral Commission, INEC, as well as members of the Code of Conduct Bureau, CCB, at the State House in Abuja. The brief swearing-in ceremony was held before the commencement of the Federal Executive Council meeting, and those inaugurated as INEC commissioners were Malam Yusuf, Aderazak Yusuf, representing the Northwest, and Professor Sunday Wambam Ajar, representing Ebonyi State in the Southeast. Also sworn in were two new members of the CBC board, Kenneth Dem from Cross River State and retired Justice Buba Ibrahim from Taraba State. The Oyo State's Governor, Seyi Makinde, is set to flag off the 2025 Omitutu Free Health Mission today at the Ibadan Northeast Local Government Secretariat, Iwo Road, Ibadan. The Commissioner for Health, Dr. Oluwaserimi Ajetumobi, stated this in her office today, emphasizing that the comprehensive medical outreach is aimed at delivering free quality healthcare services to residents across the 33 local government areas of the state. She said that the exercise is scheduled to last for 6 weeks, during which a team of highly skilled medical professionals bring healthcare services closer to the people at the grassroots. The Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, has said the administration of Bola Tinubu has already taken bold steps to construct digital highways and bridges that would carry micro, small and medium enterprises, MSMEs, across the borders into the heart of the African market. Senator Shettima stated this in Abuja while he inaugurated the Oversight Committee recently approved by President Tinubu to organize Nigeria's hosting of the 4th African Union Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise Forum, scheduled to hold between 23rd and 27th June in Abuja. According to him, while over 83% of employment in Africa lies in the informal economy, the continent is not short on ideas and digital innovation that offers an unprecedented window to compete with the rest of the world. The federal government has disclosed plans to carry out a complete reconstruction of the old terminal at the Muritala Mohammed International Airport, MMIA, Lagos. Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, revealed this in a tweet responding to commendation from the UK-based chartered management consultant, Dr. Dikpo Awojide. He planned the overall aim to boost the terminal capacity from 3 million to 20 million passengers annually, positioning it for the future of aviation demand. The federal government has delivered equipment and accessories for the 213-233 kV stations along with transmission lines in Ekiti State. According to a statement in Ado Ekiti, Ekiti State Commissioner for Infrastructure and Public Utilities, Professor Bolaji Aluko, accompanied by the General Manager, Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN Ekiti State, Victor Farmoroti, received the equipment at the Omisajana station in Ado Ekiti on behalf of TCN. Aluko, who spoke while receiving the items, said the substations would be installed in Ilikpeju Ekiti and Ijesha Eshu Ekiti to improve transmission of bulk power supplies to the north and other senatorial districts of the state, with a switching station at Ikere Ekiti. The Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adegboyega Oyetola, has announced plans to end the insurance of waivers under the Coastal and Inland Shipping Act 2003. Oyetola made this known in a statement by his spokesperson, Dr. Bolaji Akinola, following a meeting with a delegation from the NNPC Shipping, Stenabok and Carverton Offshore at the ministry in Abuja. The visit coincided with the official unveiling of the Unity Shipping World, a new joint venture by NNPC Shipping, Stenabok and Carverton Offshore Support Group, which seeks to develop a strong tanker operation capable of transporting crude oil, refined products and LNG across Nigeria, West Africa and internationally. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Wike, has confirmed that the suspended governor of Rivers State, Tim Fubara, begged him for reconciliation. He disclosed this during a press briefing in Abuja, and Wike said Fubara visited him with two governors of the All Progressive Congress, APC, to seek reconciliation. Wike and Fubara have been at loggerheads since Fubara assumed office as governor in 2023. The World Bank has said that Nigeria's economy recorded its fastest growth in about a decade in 2024, driven by a strong fourth quarter and improved fiscal position. The bank-led economist for Nigeria, Alex Sinat, said that the Nigeria economy grew by 4.6% year-on-year in the fourth quarter of the 2024. Quoting high-frequency business indicator, it said the economy continued to expand in early 2025, however, warned that persistent high inflation remains a challenge. And now in sports, the Nigeria Football Federation, NFF, have confirmed Remo Star Stadium, Ikenne and Moshood Abiola Sports Complex, Abeokuta, as venues for the upcoming international friendlies between the Super Falcons and Cameroon. The first match will take place at the Remo Star Stadium, Ikenne Remo, on Saturday, 31st of May. And the second match will hold at the newly renovated MKO Abiola Sports Complex in Abeokuta. You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to watch us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast and at X at Dominioncast. That ends the Daybreak News. My name is Sarah Owane.
You're welcome back to Daybreak Live on Dominion Television here in Ibadan. Well, thank you so much for staying tuned to the program. Well, we head straight to what the papers are saying this morning. And of course, remember that you can watch us and visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to watch us live and interact with us on our social media platforms, and that's on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast, and of course on X as Dominion Cast. So welcome once again. Let's head straight to what the papers are saying, and we'll begin with Daily Trust. And the big banner there says World Bank queries NNPCL's remittance of subsidy process. And a lot's there, and that's coming from the paper, the Daily Trust.
All right, I take this one. This morning, expect electoral reforms before 2027. That's coming from the INEC chairman.
I guess that's the new one elected.
Well, the idea is new commissioners were sworn in.
Okay.
And then the idea is to have a new set of people, reforms, and then if you have been in a state for far too long, you get transferred to another state. That's the norm. That's the usual thing we get to see. But then, if the chairman is now coming out to say, we want to go through electoral reforms, I think that is one thing Nigerians have clamored for recently. And then if we can see this, through, then that will be a good thing, especially if their interest actually aligns with that of the people.
Well, away from that, we have this Boko Haram launches attack on another military base in Borno State. That's on page 5 of the Daily Trust.
All right. Damagun Steno, National Secretary position threatened PDP, NEC convention. That's what is on page 12 of the Daily Trust this morning.
And still on bandit attack, we have bandit adopt 5 persons from Plateau Market. And that's on page 34 of the Daily Trust.
Well, the GMD, NNPCL, is in the news this morning, and you'll find that story on page 21 of the Daily Trust. We'll continue oil search in the north. That's coming from Ojulari this morning. With, the exploration for oil in the northern part of Nigeria continues under Ojulari. So it means that it's taken off from where the former GMD, Mele Kyari, actually left it.
We have this, this is not last one though, and man sentenced to death for killing friend over cap.
Over cap? As little as that? Well,
you think it's more? I guess it's more than that.
It should be more than that. And then if it's just about cap, that should be an accident. It should not be. But then, you know, you get to see some of these stories once in a while. All right, we go straight to the blueprint this morning. Okay. And then on the blueprint, Tinubu's reforms are restoring stability to Nigeria's economy. That's coming from the World Bank. And the writers on the story says country recorded 3.4% growth in 2024. Lord's improved transparency in NNPCL Limited.
That's a good one. We don't always want to see this on papers. We want to see it happen live, and we want to feel it as
feel the effect.
Feel the effect of
the headlines you find on dailies.
It's a good way if we say our president is trying to restore stability to Nigeria's economy. Well, a good one, but let's feel it in everything. The positive part, not the negative one. Yeah.
The most striking of the riders is the improved transparency in NNPCL Limited. I think that is something that has been lacking for a long time. You know, there are questions as regards what exactly is going on in the NNPCL, even until the point of privatization, saying, okay, what exactly are you doing here? If we are not meeting up with the OPEC quota, what is the problem? Is it about machines used for exploration? This can be fixed, and the new ones can actually be installed.
Well, it's every time we pump money into some things that do bring wealth for the nation, and what we get afterwards is it's not working.
The results.
Because I remember the refineries when they were telling us that we'll be getting like 1.6 million barrel per day. What happens to that now?
Well, the question is from the president, who happens to be the federal minister for petroleum in Nigeria. Well, maybe one of these days we'll get to answer these questions openly. All right, away from there this morning. Yes,
we have this 2027 PDP will rise again. That's a hopeful one. Says that's saying Wabara Damagun, and the writer there says PDP dead, join APC. Ganduje tells Lamido.
I think the two have actually had their fair share of back and forth lately. You can say my party is dead, and I mean Ganduje is saying, look, this is the next bus stop for you. Just come in.
Ganduje is just recruiting.
He's recruiting, and that's the point. That's how you win elections in Nigeria anyway. It's not really about the people. It's how many politicians you can gather in your political party and how well they wield their strength in their various constituencies. So away from there this morning, FG, NICOM partner to improve investment in aviation sector. That story is on page 20 of the Blueprint newspaper this morning.
Well, still on Blueprint newspaper, we have NACON completes airlift of pilgrims from 4 states. That's on page 9 of the Blueprint.
Right, away from there, I am not desperate to return as Rivers governor. That's coming from Siminalayi Fubara, the governor of Rivers, suspended governor of Rivers State. Page 14.
But Wike is coming up to say he has been begging secretly.
It's how they came with 2 APC governors. You know, sometimes you don't have to, you have to connect the dots when you have stories like this on the pages of the newspaper. Well, forget about what Fubara is saying. Let's wait for the results. If he eventually goes back to the office, then you will begin to investigate what exactly, how did he manage to get back to the office.
Who is going to investigate?
then there are questions, stories will break, and then you get to see it on the pages of the newspaper. That's certain.
Well, the Apapa Customs Command revenue hits 1 trillion naira mark. That's on page 20 of the blueprint.
Okay, I think this 2025 UTME JAMB engages experts to look into complaints. That story is on the Blueprint newspaper this morning.
Still from the business side, we have CBN disowns fraudulent claims for facetious contractors.
Okay, we'll take this. That's on the upper third of the Blueprint newspaper. And OHE bags the radicalization of repentant Boko Haram members. That story is on page 18 of the Blueprint newspaper.
That repentant. It's still a question I keep asking. Repentant, or perhaps they are just looking for a way to just harm or attack people again?
Well, the point is if they can actually de-radicalize them, reintegrate them back into the society, well, I wouldn't say that is wrong if that is the approach the government wants to use. Wait, because there was a time where the Niger Delta militants, we had men, and the president came into office then, gave them amnesty, sent some of them abroad to train, and then most of them are back in the country, and then they are doing their normal day-to-day businesses. So I'm not saying it's totally wrong. I'm just saying that people who actually committed lesser offenses are actually in prisons right now.
But what they are fighting for is quite different. Those other ones attack people that they feel like they are supposed to let the people that live well. Boko Haram, if you look at it, Boko Haram, that's Western education is a ram.
Well, for me, I think there's no justification for any crime committed, regardless of why you did it and when or how. The point is you have committed a crime and you should be punished. That's my stand.
It is not as much as what Boko Haram has done so far in this country.
Well, you can put it that way, but then they will ask you the same question. When something, happened in the South at the time, when men were actually living in the creeks and then they were committing crimes, presidents came into office and said, look, we want to give you amnesty, drop your weapons, we de-radicalize you, send you abroad for trainings. Some who couldn't travel actually had their trainings in Nigeria, and then I can say some of them are actually living normal lives now. So that's the approach of the then government. If the new government says, okay, with what is happening in the north, this is the way to go. I think the question now is that the people will be asking is, if it happened in the south, why not in the north?
Are they ready?
Of course, it's on the paper. There are repentant Boko Haram members already. Well, a little more research will make you understand this. That the government has a new approach.
For me, I just say that these people are not ready to.
Well, time will tell. Only time will tell.
Well, away from that, which one will go to Nigerian Tribune?
All right. This morning, we're straight to the Nigerian Tribune.
Well, World Bank, Nigeria's economy needs to generate better jobs, reduce poverty. So many riders there commend Nigeria's growth trajectory, says economy recorded fastest growth in about a decade. In 2024, wants pace of growth to accelerate further, project inflation to fall average of 22.1% in 2025, all in page 6.
Okay, away from there, we'll take another story. Unijos Professor Peuna succeeds Oshodeke as ASU president. That story is on the top left corner of the Nigerian Tribune this morning, on page 4.
Well, page 20 of the Nigerian Tribune, Wabara declares PDP revival as BOT inaugurates new members.
All right, we'll take this one that affects so many people this morning. UK ends overseas social care visas in major immigration shakeup. That's on page 3. So it means that you are going to spend more on immigration, especially if you are following the student route. So meaning that it might not be really worth it in the long run. Imagine you spending about 20-25 million just to migrate for a 1-year visa, student route, that might not actually guarantee your stay in the UK. So why would you sell everything just to move to the UK when you know that it's not even guaranteed?
Well, it's a wake-up call for our
A few
government.
years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, I think it was around 5-6 million. Now it's 25 million or
25 million.
It depends on even your source. If your source says they want more and they are so certain you are going to get the visa, there are so many people actually selling everything. I was talking to a colleague yesterday who actually went to see a friend who sold everything, including was living comfortably in Nigeria, had free cars, had a building to himself, a mansion, if I may put it that way, sold everything, all in the name of migrating to the United Kingdom.
Oh, no, all in the name of Jack Barry.
Well, if you put it that way, that's the word on the street.
Well, away from that, we have this. Wike wants PDP over 2027 presidential ticket, says Fubara visited him with 2 APC governors.
Right, FG to overhaul underperforming discos. That story is on page 7. I think this should have been a story we should have seen on on the dailies a long time ago. When you have discos who are not fulfilling promises made to, Nigerians, which means that, well, as long as the government is also complicit in this, don't forget the TCN, also GENCOs actually, they are saying the government is only owing them about 4 billion naira. And the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, was saying, look, we are going to pay you. Even the federal government also came out last week or so to say we are going to make sure that we foot this bill. But then there are still some discos who are not actually performing as expected.
Yeah.
So if the government is coming to do this at this time, well, if they are going to scrap them, it's a long overdue thing. It should have been done a long time ago. Yeah.
Well, this one, the federal government raises 1.093 trillion naira via SUSOC to fund infrastructure development, DMO. That's on page 7 of the Nigerian Tribune.
Okay. Also, we took the JAMB story earlier, but then JAMB engages IT experts to review 2025 UTME. Right, that story is on page 3.
After reviewing, what happened if?
See, the problem
because
in Nigeria,
there are lots of students that are even crying.
The problem in Nigeria is that if the IT experts actually come up with a report, will it be implemented? What's the faith of an average Nigerian student who paid so much, who almost could not afford to buy JAMB form, eventually bought, and then due to issues on the path of JAMB, actually failed the exam? What will happen to such a child? And then after that, will such child be allowed to write another one now, or you will have to wait and not pay in the next JAMB? So those are the questions actually Professor Ishaq Oloyede, who is the current JAMB registrar, has to actually answer.
So we'll move away from that and we go straight to New Telegraph.
New Telegraph, right.
2027, PDP must zone presidency to South, Wike.
That's one of his demands, actually. So if he's saying, look, I said it earlier, that he's going to give them demands that he knows that is not likely they would actually bend to. So it's a problem now for the PDP. If you want to have Wike back in your kitty, you have to make sure you do exactly what he says.
And it comes with so many riders. As self-interest in the Sync party, Fubara approached him for reconciliation. Saraki committee to reconcile aggrieved members, and the last riders there says defections. God of PDP never sleeps. Wabara.
Well, the problem in Nigeria is after we have committed all sorts of errors, mistakes on our part, then we mention God. But most importantly, what we have to understand is, the secret to success is not about God doing everything for you. You have to apply wisdom in some cases. And if what happened in the last election is to go by, the question is, why did the PDP wait until it was, it was almost impossible to reconcile aggrieved party members?
So many
aggrieved party members, especially sitting governors. So the question is, how do you intend to keep the ones that don't even have portfolios?
Because all of them will come with so many demands.
That's the problem.
Are you ready to?
Will you be able to fulfill all these promises you are making if eventually you make promises? Because I know, yes, on Wike, for one, will not, take anything less than what is demanded, which means the presidential candidate must come from the south. And the PDP will think the strongest candidate they have at hand should be from the north. How would they be able to blend all that and still keep yes on Wike in the political party?
So,
away from there, this morning, we take this. Reps consider 1,059 bills in 2 years. Abbas deputy. That story is on page 3 of the New Telegraph this morning.
well, energy crisis, federal government plans power sector overall, and that's minister is saying a lot there, and
Two
that's
underperforming discos for pilot scheme.
That's on page 8 of the New Telegraph.
Yeah. Right away from there, still talking UTME, we talked that story earlier. Let's all unite despite ethnic differences. That's coming from Jonathan on page 7. The writer is not that clear, so we move away from there this morning.
World Bank, Nigeria's economy needs to grow 5 times faster to hit $1 trillion.
Okay, we'll take this one. We've been mentioning Nigeria not meeting up with OPEC quota, but then NUPRC, Nigeria's oil output nears OPEC's target. It's 1.4 million barrel per day. That story is on page 8 of the New Telegraph this morning.
Another good one. Okay, down below we have this. Russia trafficking young Nigerian girls to prosecute war against Ukraine. Source alleges. And the writer, it's untrue. Mere speculation, Russian officials.
Wow. Okay. Well, a lot of investigations and questions have to be asked as regards this particular headline, because if there is no smoke, there will be no fire. Yeah. So I think the federal government should look deeply into this particular story and see exactly what's going on there. Away from there, this morning, FG approves a national employment policy review. Moves to cut drop prices. Okay, is Medipol. That story is on page 2 and 6 of the New Telegraph this morning.
We're saying food insecurity is alarming in Nigeria, and farmers said they pay 6,000 naira entry fee as herders seize farmlands in Rivers local government area. So into your own farm, you need to pay gate fee.
You pay gate fee. That's one of the mistakes being made in that part of the country. You know, it is time the government actually looks into wiping out insurgency, farmer crisis in that part of the country, because it's going to the responsibility of providing food for the country for a few years now has actually lied heavily on the shoulder of the North. So if they are finding it difficult to actually get into their farms in the North, it's going to have a ripple effect on the people of the South, and then it becomes a problem. Because now, even in the South, you find it difficult to go to your farms without thinking of security issues you may encounter while going to farm. So it's about time the government looks into this, because if they cannot go to farm, food prices will go up, regardless of the road projects you do, regardless of whatever farm input you have given to farmers for free to actually plant. If they feel they are not safe on their farms, most farmers will not go.
Yep. Yeah. Do we still have more there?
Okay, let me quickly take this. First white South Africans arrive US under Trump refugee plan. That story is on page 2 and 8 of the New Telegraph this morning. Trade war, US, China reach truce on retaliatory tariff hike. Well, I knew this would eventually come. You know, sometimes you just have to understand the fact that it's a symbiotic relationship. If we have businesses together, I'm rendering a service to you, it's still, not a one-way thing, it's a two-way thing. Meaning everyone has something to gain in the long run. So if the US is coming down from their high horse to discuss this with China, I think it's a good news for the world.
And China so is coming down to reduce to 10%, and US reduced to 20 or 30% thereabout.
That's very good news for the business
Very
world.
good news. So yes, let's move away from New Telegraph to leadership. And leadership again, we have PDP can win 2027 presidential election. We're talking again, Wike.
Wike also still in the news, talking about who wins the election, when and where. I think the question now is what exactly does Wike want? If they can give him what he wants, then the question is, will that be enough? Because sometimes when someone holds you to ransom, ask for things, then they begin to request for more. Since I have requested for this and I get it, then let me ask for more.
So what happens if eventually he was given or he has been given, or he's given what he wants, and 2027 comes, PDP didn't win?
Well, for me, that would be political suicide, because that actually ends his relevance.
Career.
That ends his relevance in the PDP. The question now is, they will be asking in the party, after they are doing a review of what happened in the election, is after giving this man everything requested for, he wasn't even able to deliver, meaning that he will be able to do without him. But then, you know, sometimes politics is not actually like that. Whether they give it to him or they don't, if the party is going to fail, it will fail. And will the PDP, will history of the last election, which was 2023, repeat itself? That's a question mark there.
Well, okay.
I remain INEC chair. No room for speculation. That's coming from Yakubu this morning.
You know, that was the question I asked.
Yeah.
And when I saw we're going to review.
Yeah, only new INEC commissioners were sworn in yesterday. And then the current INEC chairman is saying, look, I still maintain my position as instructed by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So if the President does not want me out of this office, I'm still the chairman. Nobody.
All right. Natasha, court hears Akpabio's contempt claims today.
All right. You'll find that story on page 7. I said it last week that we have not seen the last of this issue between the Senate President and a sitting senator of, of Nigeria, Senator Natasha.
Okay, from March, April, May, June, July, August. So she will be returned in August. In August.
Then let's see what happens when she returns to the floor of the House. Don't forget, will she return when they still have cases in court? That's another question. That is
no, they will, because it was the Senate that the Senate Committee on Ethics were the one that said, oh, just go for suspension for 6 months, then afterwards you come back.
And then we begin to trash issues one after the other. All right, away from there, this morning, FEC approves Medipool to cut drug prices. That story is on page 6 of the leadership. I think it's important to also say something about this, because talking about the Medipool and prices of drugs in Nigeria, you realize the fact that, even there used to be a time when you have kids, newly born babies. It doesn't cost you that much to actually get drugs for them. We can begin to mention names and the prices then. But then, now, once you enter a pharmacy, before you get 1 or 2 drugs, you're already spending 10,000, 15, 20,000.
Even if you're not, like, you have a slight headache, you know what we used. If you go to a pharmacy that time, you might actually get it for 100 naira. But now, how much is it now? 400, 500 naira. Just for a sachet of pain reliever. That's on the high side, especially for the low income earners in the country. All right, you take the next one. Well, federal government moves to tackle flight cancellations, delays, and that's on page 27 of the leadership. All right, also, the government threatens to sue Neo Black Movement leader. You'll find that story on page 4 of the leadership newspaper this morning. To the education side now, non-performing institutions to lose tech fund support, and that's on page 18 of the leadership. Well, I think that's one way to keep everyone in line, keep them in check, and then make sure that every institution actually performs into that cadre of performance the debt fund is expecting. All right, away from there, this morning, cost-reflective pricing. Consumer groups fault FG's tariff hike plan. You'll find that story on the upper third of the leadership newspaper this morning. Okay, away from there to The Guardian. World Bank admits Nigeria's economic progress as prices remain high. That's on page 6 of The Guardian. Right, also on The Guardian, 2027 amid pushback, zoning, complaints, others, PDP explores reconciliation. You'll find that story on page 6 of The Guardian newspaper. Well, the U.S.-China agreed to roll back tariffs for 90 days. Okay, suspension, court hears contempt. Other applications in Natasha's suit today. You'll find that story also on the Telegraph newspaper this morning. And of course, we have this Lagos Labour Party suspends chair, dissolves World executives as Apure factions tackles OTT.
It's a never-ending issue in the Labour Party. First of all, there are three men, fighting for the soul of the party at the national level, and then you also have, infighting in states too.
In states.
So it's a major problem that they really need to solve if they are going to make any progress ahead of the next election.
They need to come together as one.
As one. All right, away from there, why candidates anxious as IPOB declares sit at home on May 30 in the southeast. That story is on page 7 of the Guardian newspaper.
I think Monday sit at home has come to stay there.
That's the problem. The business activity in that particular part of the country has been crippled, especially on Mondays. And then it's going to have ripple effects on every other day. When you start your Monday sitting at home on a low key, and then what will happen on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday? Then that will instill fear in the people. Most of them might not actually want to come out. Yeah.
Well, we have this Edo governor seeks arrest of New Black Movement. President Issei Kako saying that.
Okay, also on page 15 of the Guardian newspaper, freight forwarders write Tinubu as cartels sell e-call-up code for 400,000 naira. That story is on page 15 of the New Telegraph this morning.
That's been the last one. No, we have federal government overall underperforming discos amid lingering IBEDC takeover. That's coming from the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, and that's on page 4 of the Guardian.
Right, going to the business day this morning, investment experts to power Nigeria's 5-fold growth. That's coming from the World Bank. You'll find that story on the front page of the business day this morning.
Well, that's the big one there. We have National Integrated Electricity Policy 2024 and road to attaining Nigeria energy security.
And then there's a story we have seen on some major papers this morning. FG moves to overhaul discourse in power sector revamp. You'll find that story on Business Day newspaper this morning. And we can take the sporting story on the Blueprint newspaper. Flying Eagles qualify for World Cup after dramatic win over Senegal. The goalkeeper saving 2 penalties. That's a good one for them. Qualified for the World Cup, and then they still get to continue in the competition. So kudos to the Flying Eagles of Nigeria.
Kudos to them.
And congratulations to Nigerians. That's one way for Nigerians to be happy, at least at this time. Football is one thing that unites everyone.
Always want to be happy every time, not one way.
Well,
always want to be happy every time. So you need to put in more effort.
More effort, actually. All right. So the Flying Eagles, listen to Pat. Put in more effort.
Put in more effort. I don't mind to come over there and cheer you guys. Oh, that's my.
According to information reaching me from the general manager, your flight ticket is booked already. So.
Oh, thank you
Congratulations.
so much. Oh, gee, I love you so much. All right, that's what we can take on the newspaper review this morning. So not analysis, but after this break, we'll come back with our reviewer on the program, Daybreak Live on Dominion Television here in Iyagoko in Ibadan. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Back from that short break. The show is still Daybreak Live on Dominion Television, your channel of choice, where inspiration meets entertainment. Don't forget, you can be a part of the conversation. Watch us live on our YouTube channel at Dominion Broadcast. You can also watch us live on our website, www.dominion.org.ng. Do well to link up with us on all other social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X, formerly Twitter, it is at Dominion Cast. We now head straight to the next segment of the show, where we'll bring you unbiased analysis and undiluted reportage. With us in the studio this morning is Plato. With him, we'll be doing justice to the major stories on the pages of the newspaper. But then, before then, we have something really important to discuss.
And that's even on the paper this morning.
Yeah, it's on the paper. And that's talking about...
Good morning, Plato.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're still going to do that, actually. Well, we want to talk about the ever-shifting landscape in the political arena in Nigeria, especially talking about demands being made by former governor of Rivers State and the predecessor for Siminalayi Fubara, who is the current governor of Rivers State, though suspended, is also the current minister of the FCT. So the man has been almost everywhere, former minister too in Nigeria. But then he joined the meeting of political stakeholders in the PDP recently. And then after the meeting, he had a media chat blowing out, saying a lot of things, especially calling Siminalayi Fubara's current predicament a self-inflicted injury. How would you put that? Where would you place that? You know, when we talk about political issues in Nigeria as we speak, is Wike showing publicly that I am behind the current problems you are facing, you know, in the PDP and in Rivers State, or is just trying to play, you know, devil's advocate, staying on the fence and trying to make it look like, well, I'm not totally involved in the whole scenario in Rivers State?
There's a common saying in Yoruba parlance, which I would interpret. It says, the witch cried yesterday and the child dies today. So definitely you can connect the dots between the crying of the witch and the death of the child. Now, I think it's a no-brainer that Wike definitely, Emperor Wike, as I love to call him, because he has always acted as an emperor, is behind the whole thing happening in Rivers State, particularly to the governor. Well, the validity of whether he's suspended or not remains questionable and still, sub judice. So I'll still refer to him as the governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara. Now, if you look at the uncouth and clearly, in civil way, Mr. Wike has been talking, particularly as regards events in Rivers State. It tells you one thing about the fact that our politics is one that comes with no consequence. Maybe because, again, you cannot say for sure that these people who are elected are actually the choice of the people. Because if they are actually the choice of the people, then actions come with consequences. And the electorate who elected them will always be able to, add those consequences on them. Now, for someone who is a minister of the Federal Republic, saying that those things or whatever happened, the predicament of the governor is self-inflicted, it tells you clearly how it also affirmed, the earlier, allegations from, Fubara that, hey, he wants to be the godfather. He wants the monies of the state to first go through him, or, the appropriation of the state to go through him. And you ask yourself, why will a former governor be interested in the funds of the state? Now, if you look at how strategic Rivers State is, if you look at the history of Nigeria, there has not been any Rivers State governor that has not tried to be president under this Fourth Republic. You start from the first governor, 1999 to 2007. I'm trying to recall his name now. Then you go to Rotimi Amechi and then Wike. They all contested for the primaries and they spent hard. Now, Rivers becomes strategic because with the way things are, the ruling party understands that it needs a Rivers State to hold down the South. The North definitely may be involved in, maybe you could call a fight back. And we've seen how you've seen so much noise coming from the North in recent time. So a governor from the South will always need to lock down the South if he would win election. Let me take you back. Let's look at the electoral, mathematics. Let's do some electoral mathematics. In 2003, when Obasanjo was seeking a re-election, against him was Buhari under the then not even CPC,
ANPP.
And then there was Ojukwu, who was contesting from the southeast under Abga. What they simply did was lock down the South. Lock down the South for Obasanjo, while Buhari had much vote from the North. In fact, the 95% of his votes came from the North. And that made him a major contender. Even when Buhari was not so, accepted in the down South. But he had a major... So, they are locking down Rivers State because of 2027. It's just as simple as that. We don't need to start mincing words about it or sugarcoating what is happening. The essence of locking down Rivers State is for 2027. And so, Wike and his goons will keep doing what they are doing because it is in the interest of the presidency. Okay,
let's assume that the crisis between Wike and Fubara is not solved and the emergency is lifted. Will the crisis end?
I do not see that crisis ending per se because one, the president is taking a side and trying not to take a side. How do I mean? He's taking a side by pitching his tent with Wike and whatever Wike wants, but trying not to take a side by saying, oh, the two parties, you need to come together. It's like you want to resolve a fight between two people. Two people are fighting and you want to resolve a fight. And you held the other party to his back. And you say, oh, you are an arbitrator in that fight. Or you are a mediator in that fight. What kind of mediator are you? Okay? So in a match involving, let's say, Man United and Chelsea, you see the referee adorning, let's say, Howard Webb adorning the jersey of Man United. In a match is to officiate between Man United and Chelsea. You can always tell what is going to end it. So you've seen even the meeting in London. They held a meeting in London where the House of Assembly members held the meeting. And there's in the talk of, oh, Fubara should go and apologize. And the question I keep asking is, what is he going to apologize for?
But Wike is still saying it that he came with like
two APC governors
from APC governors to apologize.
Yes, well, he would.
And on the contrary, Fubara is saying that he is not
desperate to
desperate
go back to
to
office.
go back to the
In fact, his
Definitely,
spirit has left that office.
You see, what we are seeing play out now is just optics. You know, in the service held for, you know, the Niger Delta elder statesman, Clark.
Edwin Clark.
Yeah, you know, he said, oh, that he was even tired. Okay? Now, the truth is, if you are caught up in a fight that seems like you're fighting a losing battle, you get tired, really. Now, that does not mean he will not make every attempt at conciliation. But then he knows that, well, the end point for him is 2027. And so he's just trying to see how he can salvage the situation so that he can finish out his term. Because, hey, the House of Assembly is largely dominated by those who are loyal to Wike. So what can he do? It's like coming to a gun battle with a hand knife.
All right, let's talk about the PDP crisis. You know, beaming the searchlight on the current situation in the PDP as we speak. Nyesom Wike, during his media chat, also made demands, saying, look, PDP can win 2027 election, presidential election, unless if some things are done. Now, says a selfish interest killing political party, and then Wabara also saying a god of PDP is not sleeping, will soon receive you in APC. Ganduje is also saying, you know, something that's, you know, to Lamido. But then the question is, will the PDP be able to give Nyesom Wike what he wants, especially saying the candidate of you know, the People's Democratic Party must come from the south? And that is one thing that the PDP might not be able to do if history is to repeat itself, judging by what happened in the year 2023, when, you know, he wasn't given the ticket and it wasn't even picked. It was not looked at when it comes to picking the you know, vice presidential candidate.
Well, interestingly, you see, Wike in the PDP is the enemy within. You know, in fact, talk about the enemy within. He is one. Doesn't it surprise you that he has decided not to leave the PDP? Yet he's in bed with the APC.
Dining with APC.
Okay, he wines and dines the APC. Yet he hasn't left the PDP. So it tells you that Wike is playing the game of the spoiler for the PDP. So without doubt, he still has his G5 who are still loyal to him till tomorrow. Okay, and oh, they all talk about a presidential candidate coming from the south. The truth is, if a presidential candidate comes from the south, Wike himself knows that the PDP cannot win that election with the presidential candidate coming from the south.
After giving him all what he demands.
He knows. So, you know, when you don't want a crisis to be resolved, you give conditions that may not be met. So it's like, you know, you are asking for a pound of flesh without a drop of blood.
Why?
That's the way.
These stringent conditions, will that kill the PDP?
Well, unfortunately, I really do not bother about death of political parties in Nigeria. The reason is simple. Our political party system is one that is not ideology driven. And that's why you see the easy movement from one party to the other. So you see people who have sworn with their lives that they were never going to leave their party, and then they jump ship. So you've seen Obi jump ship from APGA to another, to the PDP, even after swearing with his life. You've seen Wike, you know, do same. You've seen a lot of persons, okay, who have done that because these parties are. So it's a compendium of persons. Political party system in Nigeria is a compendium of persons who tend to have similar interests joining them. Now the problem is when that interest is achieved. Now there's something we talk about in war strategy. When parties come together to pursue a war for a certain reason, as soon as that war is achieved, the victory is achieved, now there will be a superior interest that will divide them. And that is why you see that alliances break afterwards. Because, oh, now look at even the APC. They came together so as to wrestle power from the PDP. After wrestling power from the PDP, you saw the crisis. So the question of who controls the party begins to come in. Now, what is also happening with the PDP is also same. So PDP was held intact while it controlled the presidency. As soon as it no longer controls the presidency, it went loose. Because those political, the political leeches who are in these parties are all after gains, and when their party no longer controls the central, there is nothing to eat again. So those board appointments are not there, those ambassadorial appointments are not there, the ministerial appointments are not there, and they'll go hungry. And don't forget, a lot of these people do not have a second address. A lot of them have not done any other job aside politics.
All right, before we move totally from Wike issue this morning, and one last question from there. After 2027 elections, will Wike still be relevant in politics, in Nigeria politics?
Now, I tell you that Wike, like every other, person like him, will be relegated not even to the footnote of history, nor to the index of history, because the game is playing. Now, again, it's funny that a character like Wike does not know that is only being used by the presidency. Now, when you have someone like Wike in your fold, you don't bring him too close, but you don't take him too far until the game is achieved. And I believe that the president is also buying time with Wike. Wike, if someone can do something to his own brothers, you can be sure he will do worse to you. So when you see, in war strategy, when you have a spy come, when someone gives you information for free, you take that information, but you don't let him into yours.
He has the question. What do you stand to gain?
Yeah, because you know that whatever you tell him as well, if you bring him into the fold, if he can do that to someone else, he can surely do that to you. So I doubt if Wike will be relevant, because by 2027, the tenure of the president would expire if eventually he wins the second term, and power will go to the north.
All right, away from that, let's delve into economy now. World Bank admits Nigeria economy progress, says prices remain high.
Yeah, interestingly, we've seen, how we tend to, begin to dance at Ilogu when we hear all these economic reports from, the Bretton Woods twins and all that. Now, yes, I agree with the World Bank that, yes, the economy has improved on the face value. On the face value, in the sense that, yes, GDP is increasing, our GDP has improved. But again, what you consider essentially, because we must not confuse economic growth and development.
They're two different things.
Yes. Now, a country can experience economic growth, but the question is it experiencing economic development? What is the per capita income of citizens? What is the cost of living? What is the CPI, consumer, the consumer index? What is the inflation rate? These are very important issues. So when you say, oh, the economy is improving and it does not redound on the well-being of ordinary Nigerians, then there is a problem somewhere. So you can have such economic indices, such economic reports that favor, the face value of whatever all these economic teams are looking at, but that does not redound on, the welfare and well-being of Nigerians. That's the core issue. I think the woman in any market in Nigeria is concerned about how much she's able to buy a bag of rice, buy a bag of gari, or buy a bag of beans, how well his or her take-home pay is able to take him or her home.
All right. As of March 2025, Nigeria's annual inflation rate rose to 24.23%, up from 23.18% in February, according to National Bureau of Statistics. Now, going back to the Nigerian Tribune, while the World Bank is admitting that Nigeria is experiencing, economy growth, but then they also say Nigeria's economy needs to generate better jobs, reduce poverty, and they put the expectation of inflation at 22.1% in 2025. Is this achievable?
Yeah, it is achievable, and I think a major hub of why we have inflation rate at that is because of food inflation. In fact, if you look at the breakdown of what we have, it's actually because of the rising cost of food items. And if the government is able to do that, but then if the government is able to do that, we'll be able to achieve that or even more. Okay, I feel that if we're able to ramp up our food production, we'll be at, say, maybe 21 or 20% or maybe less. However, the fundamental question is, what have we been doing? Have we invested so much in agriculture? You don't begin to plant, in the rainy season.
You must have prepared.
You must have prepared. Okay, because it is not when the rains have started. Now the question is, how much are we doing? Nigeria is the largest producer of rice in Africa. Even though we are producing about 7 million metric tons, and our daily demand is about 10 or 12 million, which means that even though we are the largest producer of rice in Africa, we cannot even meet local demands. So what are we doing to shore that up? These are very fundamental things to look at. Now, we know that from May, in fact from April upwards, we always experience tomato glut, which always leads to the price or the increase in price of, spices, tomato, pepper, and all that. Why do we always wait till these things befall us before we do the needful? We know this. You see, anyone who is conversant with Nigerian economy or agriculture in Nigeria knows that. So what happens to our storage system? How are we trying to help the farmers in terms of road, access to good road, and even storage? Mr. President, when he was campaigning, talked about, what's it called, a marketing board. That marketing board has not seen the light of the day. The idea is that farmers will not need to stress themselves. The marketing board will just take all the produce for them. They will be the one to go through the stress of selling. So you will not bother yourself. This was what we used to do in the First Republic, particularly with cocoa in the Western region. So all you need to do is sell, and then the marketing board, and that is where the whole idea of price fixing can even come in. So you can decide to buy and sell to the retailers or the final consumer at a cheaper price. This is what other economies are doing, so that they are able to subsidize. In the US, for instance, there's subsidy on meat. So why has it become difficult? We make governance in Nigeria look like rocket science. Yes, it is not that simple, but it's not rocket science.
Okay. Now, this takes us to the power sector this morning. And on page 7 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning, also on other dailies, are FG to overhaul underperforming discos in the country. Now, if we talk about discos, the overhauling of Nigerian Electricity Distribution Company, discos through regulatory actions, management restructuring, and operational reforms has had mixed effects across financial, operational, and consumer service dimensions. And then when we talk about improved revenue collection, better accountability and regulations, also we talk about mixed impact on service delivery. Now, I don't think the federal government is wrong by saying they want to actually overhaul some discos. But then, what other ways can the government look into this to make sure that Nigerians have the kind of electricity they deserve? Nigeria, as the giant of Africa, it is in the news, and everyone knows that Nigeria supplies gas to some countries, supplies electricity to some countries, yet Nigerians do not have 24/7 power supply. And Nigerians are not asking for too much.
You see, the interesting thing is, I really feel that government knows what to do, but fails to do it. Number one, we know that our power infrastructure in Nigeria is weak and almost non-existent. That's why you see collapse of power grid, national grid every now and then. Our power infrastructure is very weak. They need a total overhaul. More so, we also need to begin to look at other sources of power generation. Now, good that we are beginning to talk about solar now. But many don't know. Many people believe that, we are an hydro-based power generating country, whereas much of our power generation comes from gas. Much of our power generation comes from gas. And you now begin to wonder, why is it difficult for us to ramp this up? Now, we introduced CNG not long ago. How is it faring? So if I want to convert my car to a CNG powered car, I would spend over ₦1 million, and it may even take me ages. And you feel that conversion will work? Or you feel that process will work? So these are some of the things we need to look at. Then of course the overhauling of discos is, in fact, the best time to overhaul the discos was yesterday. Because you sit down, you go to other places and you do a comparative analysis of these discos, and you wonder, how come some discos are faring better in terms of power distribution than others? So if you compare, let's say, a co-distribution company and Ikeja distribution company vis-a-vis Ibadan. So communities under IBEDC suffer in terms of power distribution, while communities under EKDC and IKDC enjoy better power distribution. So what is the problem? So we know that to an extent we begin to look at the issue of what is the issue of metering. We have been talking about metering for long. It is an anomaly that I will be charged for what I did not consume. It is not only fraudulent, it is ungodly.
Okay, let me add this to what you are currently having. In 2024, Nigeria experienced 12 national grid collapses, marking a significant increase from the 3 incidents recorded in 2023. These frequent disruptions underscore the fragility of the country's power infrastructure and have had widespread impacts on homes, businesses, and critical sectors nationwide. Now, what is the government doing to ascertain the fact that these infrastructures are in good shape? Don't forget, some of these infrastructures have been there even before 1960, and Nigerians still bank on such infrastructures to supply them electricity in the year 2025. And
we're not even overhauling them. Someone asked a very poignant question. He said, tell me a problem that Nigeria has been able to solve in its now 55 years of existence. Mention one. One problem that Nigeria has been able to solve.
Nigeria has been running in circles.
One problem that we have been able to solve. Is it transportation? Is it power? Is it housing? Oil. Is it poverty?
Water.
Is it water? Just mention one.
Roads.
So it is not that these governments do not know what to do. Does it not bother you that in spite of the enormous amount spent by the Obasanjo administration on overhauling the power sector, we did not see any result, and heads did not roll? What you do in such a situation is that you are sending a signal that it is a country that anything goes. That's just the reality.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Plato Mosibode. Thank you so much for coming on the program this morning. But before I let you go, I just quickly want you to touch this. Russia trafficking young Nigerian girls to persecute war against Ukraine.
Oh, well, when poverty is the orb, you would always expect that. And the issue of trafficking Nigerians to persecute war is not even new. A lot of Nigerians persecuted war on behalf of Gaddafi because they were paid more. There is a new trend of what we call modern mercenaries now, okay, where you have individuals who are non-combatants are drafted into the army or lured into the army in the belief that they will be paid, hugely because they are putting their lives down. And that has been a norm across, and Nigeria has been a poaching ground for such situations. So it is not new. And it is interesting that our government has acted as if they don't know. Yeah, the government has acted as if they don't know that Nigerians are being poached, even for organ harvesting. And you ask yourself, why have we gotten to this? Number one is poverty. Okay? As much as you may also say that, well, poverty may not be a valid ground because there are also others who are poor, but are not towing that path. But then number one is poverty. Okay? And after that, you talk about the negligence of government also to do the needful. How much do we care about our citizens who are not on our, in our country? How effective are our respective embassies? Do we not have to wait until a noise is made that Nigerians who are languishing in different jails in Benin Republic? There are Nigerians who are languishing in different jails, in Egypt.
Even Ghana.
I'm even talking about crisis-prone country in Libya. And we are not doing as if anything has happened. All on the ground that, maybe they are not documented.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Plato Mosibode, for coming on the program this morning.
You're most welcome.
We appreciate you so well.
Thank you.
All right, that's how far we can go on newspaper analysis this morning. And of course, we head straight to Richard Shaulu will join us to update us on what is happening. Traffic within Ibadan metropolis. Join us again.
It's another beautiful morning in the brown roof city, Ibadan. To talk traffic report, we are presently at Dugbe heading towards Mokola, and from what we can see, Dugbe is traffic free this morning, which means commuters can actually get to their destination as early as possible. Well, there's no accidents on this road, and talking about the cleanliness, I will urge again the Oyo State Waste Management to do more on this road, because Dugbe is actually dirty this morning. From the look of things, from what we can see, Dugbe is dirty this morning. Well, talking about the pedestrians, talking about the vehicle, everything is going smoothly on this road. There's no traffic regulators from what we can see, but let's thank God for the composure of the people, because if citizens can actually abide by the rules and regulation given, then that speaks well. We are presently at Adamasiba, and here there seems to be a T-junction. A T-junction, yes. And there's no traffic on this road as well. There's free flow of vehicle on this road. We are presently at Mokola, and for what we can see, there is traffic congestion already. There's no free flow of vehicle. Well, should we say they are moving, but at a low pace. Eniola Salvador will be giving us the full report on this road. I am Sheifumi Akin Soya, Dominion Television.
Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Oyo State, and good morning to the beautiful people of Ibadan. We are currently live at Mokola roundabout this morning to bring you the traffic reports. And this morning, getting here this morning, there is no traffic. Everything is going smoothly and freely. And that is due to the good job of the traffic regulators around here. They are making sure everybody gets to their destination with ease. The road is going smoothly. There is nothing wrong around here, other than the fact that this road needs to be cleaned, which is why we will be urging the Oyo State government to look into the cleanliness around here, because this is a very good road. The road is smooth. There is no bump of whatsoever around here, and the traffic regulators are doing their job according to how they are meant to do it. But then the uncleanliness of this road is not complementing the good job that is being done around here. And this is not the only area we've actually been to for traffic reports that we are noticing that they are not clean. So we are urging the Oyo State government to please and please look into the cleanliness of Oyo State, because Oyo State has to prove to people that they are not just a state with good road. They are also a state that is clean. So, and that's going to be it this morning on traffic reports. And I am Eniola Salvador, reporting for Dominion Television.
back. It's still Daybreak Live on Dominion Television here in Ibadan. Well, I'm here with Samson Balogun.
Well, thank you for that. You know, we really have to talk about some things that we left unsaid while we're doing, analysis, and then we would really like to talk about the current situation with JAMB. Don't forget, on the Guardian newspaper this morning, we have UTME JAMB to address technical issues as 8,391 candidates threaten class action. Now, you begin to wonder how did
the class action is what I don't understand.
The issue now is when you have this kind of situation, especially from a body like JAMB. For me, I think they have prioritized the business part of the whole stuff than what the students actually stand to gain. Recently, JAMB has been one of the bodies that has remitted more money to the federal government. Now, the question is the responsibility of JAMB to make money for them, or to make sure that students have
test the children IQ,
understanding of what they've been taught in the school,
and to know whether they are fit to proceed to.
Now, it's more or less like INEC as JAMB as a body. They're actually missing the point here, and this calls for concern. This has a lot to do with the president. He has to talk to Professor Ishaq Oloyede on the current situation, because we can't continue to have this kind of situation. Last year we had issues, especially when it comes to the IT aspect. They're talking about places where they wrote the CBT centers, where they wrote their exams, and then this year again we are having the same issue. So it means that it has been a continuous issue since the CBT examination actually started. Now, what's the way forward? I don't think this is rocket science. We all know that the situation now, if JAMB is going to extend the time frame for the examination, if students are to write JAMB within a month, why not extend it to 2 months? So give them ample time and then use the best facilities to carry this out.
And the issue of them leaving their comfort zone to another place, where we say, we saw a series of accidents that happened on the road. Some were even saying that 6:30 was the time fixed for the exams.
When you get there to the center by 6:30, you do your verification and accreditation. After that, your examination starts by 7 o'clock. And then it's even that in most cases, they don't get to start around 7 o'clock. So why bring the students to the venue by 6:30? And then taking a student from here down to Igbo, to Kishi, Isheyin, I think that is the wrong thing to do. Why bring a person from Isheyin to write an exam in Ibadan when he has no family, no member, and no family members here, no relatives whatsoever? You just bring them down here to come and write an exam, meaning they cannot come, on the same day of the exam. They have to come a day before. So these are inconveniences that JAMB really has to look at.
Well, that's what we're expecting more from JAMB registrar to do something about that. Of course, up next is Dominion Sport with Boluwaji Ogumola. See you again.
Hello, and many thanks for joining us on Daybreak Sports this lovely morning. My name is Boluwaji Ogunmola. It's time to take around the world of sports in about 5 minutes or thereabouts. Bring you up to speed with all of the happenings in the world of sports. From the National Sport Festival, starting, of course, on Friday, to news as regards the local scene. We've got you covered on the show this lovely morning. Let's kickstart this morning from the National Sport Festival, the 22nd edition. We're ahead of the festival, tagged Gateway Games 2025. The Executive Governor of Oyo State, Engineer Oluseyi Abiodun Makinde, will be presented with a touch of unity at the entrance of the Governor's office today, Tuesday, the 13th day in the month of May. The Oyo State Commissioner for Youth and Sport, Honorable Wasilat Adegoke, made the disclosure in her office yesterday. The Honorable Commissioner for Sport in Oyo State remarked that the officials of the National Sports Commission in Abuja will make the presentation on behalf of their chairman, Malam Shehu Diko, adding that the presentation ceremony is imperative at this time to herald the commencement of the 22nd edition of the National Sport Festival. The commissioner has stated further that the state government has concluded all plans and arrangements to facilitate effective participation of Team Oyo athletes, and of course emphasizing that the government will take proactive steps to provide instant monetary reward to compensate athletes that secure gold medal, silver medal and bronze medals during the tournament. Now, the Torch of Unity, which is moving around the state of the Federation, of course, is to earmark and create awareness and sensitize the members of the public about the Gateway Games that will start this Friday, the 16th of May, 2025, in Ogun State. Well, let me inform you this morning that 320 athletes, 65 coaches and 36 officials will represent Team Oyo at the festival tagged Gateway 2025 in Ogun State. Well, for Team Oyo, they will feature in 32 sports consisting of 27 compulsory sports and 5 optional sports. Well, from the festival, let's talk about the Nigerian Women Football League this morning. The Super 6 is currently going on. Of course, let's take a look at the results of the Super 6 matches played yesterday. Don't forget that it started on Saturday and we had games yesterday. Nasarawa Amazons took on Bayelsa Queens and they played a 1-0 draw. But of course, I'm interested in the Remo Stars game as the Remo Stars ladies secured their second consecutive win of the ongoing 2024-2025 NWFL Premiership, of course, Super 6 playoffs, following their 1-0 victory over Niger Rattles yesterday to continue their fantastic form in the season-ending competition, of course, holding on their own home turf, that is the one in Ikene. The NWFL Premiership regular season's highest goal scorer, that's Bolaji Olamide, actually struck in the 14th minute of the game, of course, to ensure that Remo Stars ladies, secure the maximum point. Now, with the results, Remo Stars ladies are now top the standings, of course, setting the stage for a high-stake showdown against, of course, fellow unbeaten rivals, that's Bayelsa Queens, when they play later on tomorrow. Now, earlier in the day, Bayelsa Queens were held to a 1-0 draw by Nasarawa Amazons in the first game of day 2 yesterday at the Super 6. Now, the draw have actually moved the Prosperity Girls, that's Bayelsa Queens, to 4 points from 2 matches, while Nasarawa Amazons are on 4 points as well. And in the last game of the day, Rivers Angels and Edo Queens recorded their first point of the Super 6 following a 1-0 draw in Ikene. Of course, MMSN scored first for Bayelsa Queens in the 26th minute of the game, but an own goal from Valentina Uroko in the 38th minute of the game salvaged a point each for both sides. Well, let's move away from the Nigerian Women Football League this morning and take a look at other major stories. Of course, yesterday, semi-finalists emerged at the ongoing Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations, where Nigeria, of course, won against their counterparts from Senegal yesterday and, of course, qualified. It was a penalty shootout victory for Nigeria, and, of course, they qualified for the semi-final, and they have a date with South Africa in the semi-finals. Morocco also through, Egypt also through, and it's Morocco and Egypt going head-to-head in that particular competition. There you have the charts on your screen this lovely morning. Well, also on the show, a bit of stories from other sports this lovely morning. And there you have it, the Italian Open. We had games yesterday. In the male category, Yannick Sinner through, Paul's through, Kasparov through, Mona through, and of course Mensik. Then in the female category, Sabalenka also through, Coco Gauff through at the expense of Raducanu, Zenk through, Adrivac through, as well as Paul Lena. Well, that's all our time permits us on today's edition of Daybreak Sports. Back to Samson and Parts.
right, it's been fun all the way since the beginning of the program Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. This is where we'll be drawing the curtains on today's edition of the program. We'll say thank you so much for being part of us. And of course, it's raining season. You need to keep your environment clean. And thank you so much. Join us tomorrow. I am Pat Aito.
All right, thank you for spending your morning with us on Dominion Television, your channel of choice. Do well to join us again on Daybreak Live tomorrow morning by 7 a.m. Samson Balogun is my name.
I had no doubt in my mind that with this